Hello. I am excited today. Tell you what, I've found an excuse to go crack open our game engine and go do some what will probably be very mild work over there. But I'm excited because it's kind of my happy place, but I haven't contributed to the engine in a very long time. Let's see. See how long it's been. I'll swap my screen over here, I guess. August 20th, 2025, I think is the last thing I did over there. So I don't think we have to do anything super complicated today, but there are some changes to random number generation that I was looking at here. There's one thing I want to add, and I think we might have a bug that I encountered before and didn't realize was a bug. We'll take a closer look here. Before we get started on anything, I'm going to fire off a build here because it's been a while. All right. So first thing I wanted to, where are we at here? Not that one, this one. First thing I wanted to do, I was working on the player turn and doing some shuffling, and realized that our random number generator just can't be used with like a standard algorithm. I just wanted to call like stood shuffle on a vector of cards or something. And that should be totally possible. And the other thing I wanted to look at, where was that? Back when I was doing enemy spawning. Yeah, we were calling this function. And let's see, what was I doing? I was calling this with a min of 0 and a max of 1. But it was getting back 0 every time. And I just, without thinking too much, thought, oh, that range is wrong. I should fix that comment. But if we think through that, I don't think that's what's happening. I think I have a bug in the statistical distribution here. Because if we have a min of 0 and a max of 1, we've got 0 and 1 there. We're going to call get. Hey, crazy bro. How's it going? Well, we'll call get, which I think is like a float. In 0 and 1, we call distribution. But distribution should actually be in that range. 0 and then next after 1. So, well, I haven't actually used this in a while. Let's double check. Uniform real distribution. Is that what's the range on that? Yeah, okay. It's like open on the end, but we initialize it to next after 1. So it is 0 to 1. I don't know if that's typical for random number generators or not. We're probably doing it weird. But, so we get a number, or a float between 0 and 1 there. And then our 1 minus 0 would be 1 plus 0. And then we cast it to a size t. And that does not seem like a good thing for getting the max, because I'm just going to truncate from a float down to a size t. So that's definitely a bug. And what I was doing before, let's take a look at that. Not that one. Learning Python, cool. That was my first programming language back in high school. I did a lot of stuff in Python. I'm doing well. What are you working on in Python? Why am I in here? I keep clicking on the wrong one. There we go. And the server enemy spawner. Yeah, I was doing this. All right, so when we spawn enemies, they spawn in waves, and the waves have different difficulties. And we want to just select a random wave out of the pool at a given difficulty, where tier is difficulty. So we get whatever tier the player is at. This is a contiguous range of those waves. Get the size of that. And then I'm calling random between with the tier size, which is actually potentially out of range. Before I was doing this, let's see. So our beginner tier has two things in it. So say like index 0 and index 1 are what we want, but our size is 2. I was trying to do this, and I was only getting back 0, so I naively thought, oh, my comment is wrong. I'll do this. This potentially goes out of range and can spawn something from a different tier, but like with very low statistical probability. So we've got to fix that for sure. I don't know how that's still in there. Maybe we just haven't done anything with this particular function. Because I know I've done a bunch with the vectors for sure in other things. And maybe I've just never really used this one enough to notice. It was pretty obvious the first time I had used it, or when I was using it here, so. Crazy Bro is learning web design, making web HTML and CSS. Cool. With Python code. Sounds fun. Yeah, I think Python was the first language I learned just kind of on my own for fun. And then when I went to college, what did we do? We learned Scheme in college, which if you don't know what that is, it's like a variant of Lisp, which was wildly different from Python. It was a very strange experience. I don't know how common it is to learn that as like an intro language. I feel like people use, I don't know, something else. But then I used Python a lot for all kinds of fun stuff after that until I kind of, I don't know, switched gears. I think I switched gears when I started using Unity. I don't remember when, but I am 99% C++ these days. Okay, let's see if our build is done here. We are all good. So we want to pull up that unit test too. And maybe, do we fix this first? Yeah, let's fix this first. Or was it between? Size T. Should we just see that that's terrible? That's gotta be bad. Ooh. What do we do there? If we made like an array of size T 2. We made an array and then we said for, I don't know, just blasted through a bunch of random number generation. We take a seed. I don't know. I give it 5 up here. Is that a seed? All right, we'll just default construct it. I don't know. How many runs should we do? 20? 1,000? 2 million? I don't know. Then we can do, we'll just increment counts at right. Do what I was trying to do over there. Between 0 and 1 counts. Increment it, and then we'll, I mean, they shouldn't be exactly equal, but We'll see how terrible they are. Do I know about array? Probably not. Oh, I didn't even type at. I think that does the thing I want it to do. It's a 0, I don't know, like 2 million, 20 million, some large number of things. All right. I even have a build directory might be different here. Oh no, that's fine. But not command, it'll be random. Yeah, that's like... So in order for us to hit the... Where are we at? We do a between two size t's. In order for us to ever hit the top of that range, this guy has to return exactly 1.0. Otherwise, we just truncate everything down to 0, if this is 0 and 1. And if these are bigger, it's the same thing, but like the top end of the distribution is bad, which makes it look like that's what the range is, which is why I messed it up on the other side. We probably should have initially done these with the like half open interval, but they're the way they are. So we'll just fix this. I wonder... I don't know what this guy does internally. But maybe we just make one for non-floats too. And then we don't have to really worry about writing our own code for it. It's my base. Just a uniform real. What was param type? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, this is... Ding. I don't think we have to worry about like saving it. What is uniform int? What is that? Oh, is this like the base class for this? Yeah, okay. Distribution. I kind of don't like that this is a size t. I think it doesn't really make sense. It should be like a fixed type, right? I don't know that I have a use for a random size t, although it's, you know, I kind of expect it to be a uint64, like an unsigned long for everything we care about. You should just do that, because... No, not this. I don't care about this. Okay. I don't think this will break anything, because we're probably just expecting that to be true everywhere. What are you constructible with? Okay. Hmm. Is this? Oh, weird. This may be totally conventional, but I'm just unaware of it. Uniform real distribution is on like a half open, half closed interval. It is difficult to create a distribution over the closed interval from this distribution. Ah, no, this is exactly what we do. I didn't know. Okay. But this one does give you a closed interval. Okay, so then I can just do min and max. And is that just a operator boom with a generator? Where'd I go? Generator is that guy. Still don't necessarily expect that test to pass, but they're like, okay, way closer. I'm happy with that. I don't know. I mean, like, I could put a test in here, but there is some, I don't know what threshold I'm expecting them to be within. I don't know what the distribution should be. I don't really know how to do that. Is there a good strategy for that? Should be within, I don't know. I guess for fun, what we could do I don't know. It's gonna work exactly the same, isn't it? You should all be like that anyway. It's just no, wait a second. It's probably unnecessary, but why not? Oh, there's nothing to compare there. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Oh, is it a type? Ambiguous. What's the other call? Float? There's no way it would confuse it for a vector. Yeah, okay. Invalid subscript. Because... Oh, you can go... Yanov says, is it true that learning the language is like easier than learning the libraries inside? For C++, is learning the language easier than learning like the standard library? Ooh, I don't know about that. I think if you mean specifically with C++, I would say there are a lot of pitfalls and gotchas in the language, and there's a lot to learn, and there's a lot to learn about the standard library itself. But for the standard library, you don't really have to know everything. There's a lot of things that continue to exist. Actually, this is true for the language and the library, that continue to exist for historical reasons, and they get replaced with new things. So you really need to know the things that are used by the product you're working on, if that makes sense. If you are working on a very modern code base, or you plan to be there, you don't have to know as much about, like, let's say pre-C++ 11 things, or... It's a hard question. I don't know. There are also environments where, like, the standard library isn't used at all. You might be working with like a totally custom implementation of that, and just using the raw language, or like standalone C++ in an embedded environment or something. What's I doing? Why can't I parse this? I'm going out of bounds, but I just want to see that those are at least close. What do I think about the Rust language? I have looked at Rust. I have never actually used it myself. I think... Will it change the use of C++? I think that's already true to some extent. There are a lot of people that will prefer to use Rust for new projects, and I think that's a totally sensible move. There's also, like, there's been some amount of push in the standards committee to change certain aspects of C++ to be safer, and a small number of those things have traction. Most of them don't, and they don't because of the way that the language progresses. It's like it's kind of a double-edged sword, I think, with C++, where it really does not want to break backwards compatibility, so it carries along all this baggage from the past and just adds new things on top. But if you aren't willing to break old code, it's very difficult to get rid of the things that were traps and difficult to understand that existed in the past. So my prediction is that it will not have a significant impact on the language itself, but like an impact on the use of the language in new projects for sure, which I think that's already true. Oh yeah, we built. All right, I just want to see. These are like all pretty close. All right, I'm happy with that. I think we have addressed that bug, and I don't know how that has been there for so long. Yeah, that's also true. I think if you have like an existing project, especially a large thing like some enterprise software that's in C++, that's not going anywhere. That it will remain in C++ until that product, is end of lifed. Um, but for new projects, that's a different story. I remember hearing a while ago a bunch of people, I think like Microsoft was planning on changing a bunch of internal stuff over to Rust. I don't know if that stuff got traction, where they are with that. Um, yeah, I imagine there's a lot of nice things about it. Spoken by somebody who's never actually used it. I've only looked at it, but there's Sean, what's that gentleman's name? Somebody made like a proprietary C++ compiler and like extension to the language. I think it was called Circle. What was that thing called? Circle C++. I think Sean something. What's that guy's name? Sean Baxter. I think this, don't quote me on this, but was a response to Rust and or safety issues in C and C++. What kinds of things did this guy do? I think there was some, what is this? Yeah, he had a proposal to introduce some safety concepts to the language, and I think this stuff is a tough sell for the C++ committee. Yeah, like these kinds of things there is interest in, but I don't see anything like that ever actually happening. I see it as something people will submit proposals for and debate about, and it will die. But this is out there. There's also kind of a different direction, but CPP 2, I believe, what is he calling it? CPP Front. Herb Sutter is another gentleman associated with C++ and I think Microsoft. And he made like a front end for C++ based on the idea of C++ originally being like a front end for C that addresses some things. And I think he has done quite a bit with it. Maybe 2 years ago, I tinkered with this a little bit. But there's people going different directions, but they tend to be variations of the language itself rather than modifications to the language. I think C++ won't die like assembly. Assembly, I think, has more reason not to die, but C++ will, at the very least, there's a lot of code written in C++ that's not going to be rewritten anytime soon, and it will continue to live for that purpose. I have no crystal ball for 10, 20 years from now. I don't know how I could possibly predict that, but for the time being, it's not dying. Maybe it is dying. It's not dead in the near future. But at the end of the day, I don't think it really matters. Like, if it is phased out for something else, people will shift and learn those other things. And like, the language that you use is just a tool to solve a problem. If you're using C++, presumably it's because it does something for you, or your code base is already written in it, or you know it for right now, whatever. If it lives, it lives. If it dies, it dies. I don't know if I want to write some some unit test to test the distribution. I'm not sure exactly how I would do that because I don't know what the distribution should be. But I want to do something here. Not there. I would like to be able to use our random number generator in like standard shuffle, which probably has a ranges variant, so I'll use that. And I will write a unit test for that. But I don't know how we're going to do that yet. We'll have to take a look at it. Come up with a name better. Once I know what the actual code will look like. It's funny because people use C++ even for new projects. Yeah, I don't think there's a problem with using it for a new project. I just think, well, there's a choice to be made. I don't know. I want to do like, I have array in here. I have array is what I added. That's fine. Auto values equals or 5. I don't so much care, but I would like to be able to do okay, we will do the convention here ut, and I would like to be able to do something like stood ranges shuffle my values with that. That's going to be like a random shuffle range function. Okay. Yaniv says, have I seen the game by the programmer named Cakes? What do I think of the game? My wife has told me about Cakes, and I believe all I know is that it's a tower defense game. I think it's like, it has to do with oranges or something. I saw a clip of it somewhere, and I heard that his release went very, very well. He was very moved by the support people gave him, and then I think maybe a stream of him reacting to that went viral. So I don't have any opinions on the game itself. I don't know much about him, but I've heard whispers of the story behind the release of his game. So good for him. I'm glad for him. My wife likes him a lot. I think she watches him from time to time. Nokia Frog says, what language is going to be the big thing? Like, I think C++ is the strongest. Going to be the big thing. Like in the future? I don't know. I don't know if that's what you mean. What will be the next big language? Like C++ is the strongest right now? Is that what you mean? I don't know. I don't know how to judge that. Yanni asks, if I were to start a game over right now, what languages would you choose? If I were to do it right now, I would still choose C++ because it is not a dead language today, and it is what I know best and can solve the problems I know I need to solve. If time were not an issue, and if I were like 16 again, but in the present day, I would probably look at Rust Maybe there are some other options. But considering how much time I've spent learning C++, it's like getting off the ground is very quick. And I do find, like, I don't know, for safety issues, I have, well, I'm developing and whatnot, all kinds of undefined behavior and like vector out of bounds things and whatever. But I find it's very, very rare that that stuff gets, the issues that I've had the most difficulty with in production code in real life don't have to do with that at all. It has to do with ABI breakage between dependencies that have like a C interface between them, because you're communicating across languages. That is a thing that has plagued me many times. Or like passwords leaking because of script execution in a thing. It has nothing to do with C++. It's not to say memory issues aren't a big deal. I think if you were to go and like survey all of the CVEs and things, I'm sure C and C++ have contributed a great deal of horror there. But from my personal experience, I think using modern C++ largely deals with that, and the things that have come back that I've had to deal with that are real problematic don't have to do with the choice of language. Oh, hey, Gandalf. Topic for today. So I wanted to jump back to the engine, our game engine, really quick to do two things. One is in our game, I just wanted to be able to shuffle a vector of cards, and we have a random number generator, but I thought it was silly that I couldn't use like standard shuffle, so I was going to make that work, which I've not done yet. And the other thing, we fixed this already. I can quick explain, I've got random open in both. A while ago I was working on enemy spawning, which does some random number generation in there. And I had missed a bug in here where, so this is our engine call is right here. When we went to spawn an enemy wave, we want to pick what difficulty or what tier of wave we want, and then we get like a contiguous range of those waves, and we want to select from there. So we're grabbing the size of that sub-range. Say we're looking for beginner enemies. This is the exact case. We're looking for beginner enemies. There are 2 of them in there right now. So this guy's size is 2, and I want to generate the index 0 or 1. Here, our between, actually we have the old code here. Our between function takes a min and a max and gives you one of those. But my comment said we're in a closed interval. So I gave it 0 and 1, but what I was getting back was just 0 every time. So I thought, without really looking at it, oh, my comment is wrong. This is a half open interval. And I changed it to tier size, so in the range 0 to 2, but give me 0 or 1, and that was working. But in looking at that code, this is broken. This actually messes with the distribution, because if we look at that case, and this we've fixed here over in the engine, but if my min is 0 and my max is 1, I have get, which returns distribution, which is going to be a random float in the range 0 and 1. You take the next value after 1.0, and this one gives you a half closed interval. So that's in the range 0 and 1. Where were we? Here. So we get a number, a float between 0.0 and 1.0, and then multiply it by 1 minus 0 plus 0, but then truncate it to a size t. The top end of that range is like a tiny, tiny probability of ever being hit, because it only gets hit when get returns exactly 1.0. So I had totally missed that when working on this code. So we're fixing that too. And I think that's all we have to do. Very, very mild today. But what I was saying at the beginning is I was excited because I have not opened up the engine. Well, I've opened it up. I have not contributed to the engine in almost a year. I think it was like August of last year. Yeah, absolutely. And if you could use multiple things at the same time, there's nothing wrong with that. I think this depends on context, but at least professionally, the ability to diversify is just as valuable as like deep knowledge in a particular language. You never know when your your product is going to get axed, or you have to jump into something else that you are unfamiliar with. So like the ability to learn, I think more important, I don't know, than the skills you have, the technical skills you have at this exact moment, is your ability to learn and your ability to work well in a team, assuming you're not working by yourself. What's our goal with the game? For the foreseeable future, just to get a functional prototype. If you're new here, I'm not sure. My wife and I, are working on this together. It's kind of her project she's been working on for a while. It's gone through a couple changes, and now we're just trying to get a functional prototype out. Eventually, we do want to release it. We don't have a release date set yet. Yeah, it is just for fun. We are not, neither my wife nor myself are professional game developers. It's a hobby we've had for quite a while. Trying to take this from a hobby to actually releasing it. Okay. So I want, wait, does this? Okay, I'm just gonna say, better not compile. So this is the other thing we wanted to figure out. Is it's not necessary, but I should be able to call like shuffle or something. And let's see, deprecated. Well, you know what? Somebody commented asking if I could make the text bigger on a previous video. So maybe I will go ahead and do that before I forget. Sorry, I forgot until now. We're looking for not random shuffle. I guess ranges shuffle is going to behave. Should I? It's going to be the same, I expect. Uniform random bit generator. First to last, okay. Function objects. Is there a difference between an algorithm function object and a customization point object. An algorithm function object, informally known as a nebloid, is a customization point object specified as one or more overloaded function templates. The name of these function templates? It doesn't matter. I was just curious if they started calling them something different, but it was a subcategory. Can you tell me anything about... Okay, we have a concept for this. Invocable. So it returns an unsigned integer and requires a min function and a max function returning the invoke result. Requires a bool constant. Hold on a second. I am... Okay, this is the generator that we use for random number generation. And implementation is just copied from the work of these people. But does this guy satisfy that concept already? Include, I'm sure this is already in here, but just copy this up for a second. I could just static assert this on, right, our Exo Shiro 256 SS, I think it was. Is that right? Maybe I should do this. What do I do besides that? Yeah, my wife is currently a software engineer. I was a software engineer. I'm a stay-at-home dad now. Nokia says, I'm a noob, but want to learn OpenGL. VS Code, VS. Like VS Code breaks? What breaks about VS Code? Always break. Oh, thanks. Oh, okay. So if that already satisfies the concept, we can just return a reference to the generator and use that in Shuffle, and that's easy peasy. That's totally fine. I guess technically we could construct one of these ourselves too, but it would be nice. It'd be nice to be able to fork off of the main RNG and then just use this in Shuffle if we wanted to. We could This is copyable, right? Should be totally copyable. Yeah, I think that's the move. We'll just return a reference to the generator, and then we can use that in anything that needs a uniform random bit generator. Yaniv, I can only speak from my experience. The way I got into the industry myself was just working on things that I really liked obsessively. And then eventually somebody took note of that and hired me. I have heard from many, many people that right now the job market in most places is pretty difficult. So I think it's, unless you have, like, without prior experience, I think it's more about networking and being able to get your foot in the door somewhere in a way that somebody else can't. In terms of languages, from my experience, I don't think this matters. It doesn't, it's going to be contextual, but you should learn the languages that you want to work in and go from there. I think, again, this is just my experience, but learning the things that I learned is just a product of doing things that I wanted to do. Because focusing on the things that I wanted to do allowed me to spend way more time doing this than I would have otherwise done if I was chasing what I thought somebody else wanted. Now, I can't guarantee that'll work for anybody else, but that is what worked for me. That's generally how I live my life. So I do the things that I want to do, and that lets me spend a lot of energy on that one thing and getting good at it. So Nokia Frog says, VS Code is not making exe files and not running the code. It's kind of hard to offer assistance there without more context. So let's see. What language are you using, Nokia Frog? Because, I mean, the way that I use, like, vanilla VS Code is effectively like a text editor with a browser in it. And you can just do everything from the command line. So if I mean, in this case, I'm using CMake as the build system, and it uses the Visual Studio build system, MS build under the hood. But, like, I mean, what if you just, like, if I want to build something, I would say, like, CMake, you know, command line arguments, run it from here, and it would build just fine. And then if I want to hook that into something, it's just a matter of plugging it into the extension. Let's see here. I don't even know. Debug test, where am I? Actually, I don't even know where that's set. I haven't touched this in so long. But I think yeah, and I think AI totally has the ability to replace programmers. Definitely eventually. I don't know that that will happen next month or next year. I think it is kind of starting to happen, but I see My best guess or attempt at modeling what human intelligence is should be totally computable. Like, fully and totally computable. And I think all complexity and processes that we are able to identify in the universe currently should be computable. So the theoretical limit of AI is like well beyond what any human could do. And I don't see any way of either like extinction of the human race or we realize that potential. So if you're talking, remote future or even a couple years from now, definitely. What I'm doing right now will be a thing that people do for fun, if at all, not a necessary skill. But I can't tell you anything about when that day will arrive. We might be marching right towards it right now. Virus asks, what do you do if you have passion for a lot of things and you don't know which one to master? My God, I don't know. I battle with this every day. I am the kind of person that really likes to get deep into one thing, but there isn't just one thing that I want to do, and it is tough. I think the thing I try to do is just like if let's say I really like music. I like making music and playing guitar and writing music and yada yada yada. I also really like programming and learning about computer architecture and those kinds of things. And there's other things that I like. But if I find that I've spent a month doing exactly one thing and only thinking about that, I will just try to not do that for a week and switch over to something else, just for the purpose of not being pigeonholed into that one area. And I find it's actually like a refreshing thing if I program all day for a month, I kind of get into a weird funk. And if I go and spend a week just playing guitar every day and trying to make that the thing that I do, then when I come back to programming, I'm like refreshed. And it is actually an improvement. I have no idea if that would work for you, but that's the way that I try to approach things. So Nokia Frog is trying to make the setup for OpenGL coding. I don't know if OpenGL, I mean, there might be specific extensions that help with OpenGL, but I can show you, I can try to figure out what I did to set this up in the past. But for me, I'm using CMake as my build system, which you might not be using. What am I looking for? I'm looking for extensions. The extensions that I think you want for C++, or like this kind of thing. Is this only MSVC? No. No, this is for C++. It's like this. And now I do most of my build through the CMake extension, but you might want to do that a different way. Actually, to tell you the truth, I don't even know. Let me try to figure out where these settings are. They're here. Nokia, do you know what you're using for your build system, or like what compiler you're using? Extensions. No, not extensions. Close. Settings. There are settings for the extensions. And this is where I hooked everything up. But again, this is... Let's see if you can set up a build right in here. Probably. Somehow. You're using G+, so GCC. Are you able, do you know how to compile on the command line? Like, oh, it's been a while since I've used, do I have this installed? I don't? I feel like I should. PowerShell? Are they really not? Is that a... Maybe I don't. Holy cow. It's been a very long time. But are you able to compile with GCC from the command line? Because, it could be all sorts of things. It could be that things aren't in your path. Yeah, Yaniv, it can be scary. I don't think it's a thing that has to scare you, but it's easy to be scared about it because there's like no ability to be certain about what things will look like. Yeah, I agree. I think it will be much smarter. Yeah, it depends. Okay, it depends. It's really hard to help without having all the context because things can be very, very different. Let's see if I can find... The way, if you have lots of include paths and libraries and things, you probably don't want to do that on a command line. You probably want to be using a build system of some kind, or even like a batch file to do it if you don't know how to use a build system, just to run the thing. But GCC build path. Yeah, sorry, Nokia Frog. I don't know how to give you direct help without like seeing the exact context of what you're working on. Also, admittedly, I haven't even touched this stuff or set it up in a very long time. I figured out how to get it working in here once, and it kind of just sits there now. All right. I'm going to jump back to what I was doing here, which I think was a very easy thing to do. Let's just get... get the... I don't know. Get the underlying generator. Return, what is this thing called? This one. I wonder if there's like more. What concepts do we have in here? Are there more? Not distribution. Where's all this? Did I scroll right past them? Uniform random bit generator. That's the one we grabbed. Oh, it's the only one. Well, I could just say that. Satisfies uniform random bit generator. Okay. Then when I forget about this, I don't have to look at it. I can just know. So theoretically, if we do this now, but instead, that should compile. Okay. I guess we could, I mean, I don't need to write a test for the standard library algorithm, but expect false. The range is, ooh. Just do something silly here. Values 2. Let's copy it over. I won't actually keep this test. I think I'm just going to throw this static assert at the top because that is the thing that I want to guarantee is true. Equal values. Values 2 are not equal, but okay. So that's the thing we care about. Ensure we can use our generator with standard lib algorithms. Okay. And then actually, do I even need these? No, I can get rid of these two. That is about all I had planned today. Is there anything else we would want to do here while we're in here? Let's see. Yeah. We should fix this too. That's not a size T. That's a UN64. Yaniv asks, why don't you use SDL or Vulkan, etc.? Why do you use imgui? Well, imgui is in the engine just for, let's see here. Can I launch some stuff? Just for like the editor. Whoa, the lighting in here got crazy. You know, that kind of thing. So it is what is available for debug stuff. I don't care about what that looks like. My wife Jer is interested in trying to use it. And I couldn't actually explain why, maybe just to not have to learn something new. Just reskinning it. And if that works well, which I think... I don't have an example of what she was working on before, but if that works, there's no real reason to change it. Under the hood, we do use Vulkan, and the ImGUI layer is rendered on that Vulkan layer. It might be more difficult. You might be right about that. And in terms of whether it looks good or not, I have never done anything with trying to make it look good. Jer thinks that it can, based on the works that she's done. And I'm going to trust her opinion on that. If it doesn't look good, we'll switch to something else. Oh, Nokia Frog. If you're compiling a C++ project, you should probably use the G++ rather than GCC. That is like the GCC C++ compiler. Again, this is not a size T. Let's just see. There's probably nowhere in this file we ever want to use a size T. Yeah. Well, could just find and replace, but I want to make sure. Okay. Get the current seed. You need to specify this. Just generate a random. No. The other ones specify a range. Fine. One more. Right, Yaniv. I've been working mostly on like the server client orchestration of the game. Since it is, my wife has all the vision for everything. I'm just a worker drone making it work. I'm going to let her do. She also has a way, way stronger artistic background than me. She can do all of the things to make it look nice and lay out the UI how she wants to. And I'm just going to make sure most of the stuff I'll do will be like making sure the server does what it needs to do and making sure clients respond the way that they do. And at some point in the future, I'll work on music. But I don't think I'll ever do anything visual in the game because there's no way I'll do it better than Jer. It's just not my skill. Not my skill set. I think, just before I push this up, I assume all the tests pass. We should have like a scheduled thing that runs on the repo that would have emailed me. We're cooking. Pop, pop, pop. But gee, that's a lot of tests. There's so many windows. I haven't run these in a while. Okay. Do we... Well, why did these get... What happened here? It's deleted? Why did that happen? tempter. Do we... Is that just... Maybe that should be get ignored or something. Well, we don't... Yeah, what? How is that happening? Is that not in the build directory? No, it's in test. Collateral test tempter. Where? NC convert collateral. Did we somehow track those files in source control? A tempter should probably not be in there. Oh God. When did this happen? June 8th, 2025. Huh. How have they lived in there that long? I don't know, man. I don't think we want a tempter in there. What would have happened there? Not here. I don't know how they got in there. Whatever, we'll get rid of them. The other thing I did see, I don't know what to do about this. So we use this uniform real distribution, which produces random floating point values in the half-closed interval. The concept of the game is to take... So it's a deck builder, but it's intended to be very fast-paced. Kind of auto-plays a bunch of actions like those... Remember those auto battlers, if you ever played any of those? The auto chess game from Dota 2 was awesome for a while. But the general idea is to take like a vintage CRPG game and condense all of that gameplay into like a fast-paced deck builder. So each of we're calling them cards. I think they're stones now. We've changed to. But each of those are like an action you would take in an RPG. So you get skill points by playing things, and you after every round get to level up, and that's how you acquire new cards and that sort of thing. So it's a very condensed RPG experience, and the artistic style is intended to be just very vintage dark fantasy. Hey Muncie, how you doing? Am I saying your name right, Muncie? I see you all the time. All right. All right, cool. Hey, there's Socknancock 363. I don't know if I said that one right either. But cool, I'll remember that, Muncie. I need to make a totally different branch. Broken. Fix between. All right. Publish. We do. Let's say it. Update random. All right, we did a couple of things. Get generator. Where? What were we doing there? No, something. Holy cow. That'll take a while. But then probably won't start anything else today. But with those things, I do want to, I'll leave myself a note here. I always write these to-dos, if anybody has watched me before. And all caps to-do means I need to fix this before I merge. And then if I have a to-do that references an issue, I'll reference the issue there. But I don't really like to litter the code base with like merge in too many to-dos, but I do throw them literally everywhere as I'm working, just so I can like quick go back to where I was. I don't know. Once engine PR merged, fix this. Should be one less than tier size. That is for sure a bug. And then this guy we can just shuffle here. To do, we already have the to do. Grand Miner is the Stockfish development. Stock, like, isn't that a chess engine? Oh, what did I title the quick detour to the engine, to the Stockfish engine? No, game engine. Oh, thanks, Monsi. Yeah, I don't know how or why, but the subs are coming in. I'll probably call it here in about 10 minutes. Just about 5 in the morning for me. But let's see, I don't know when I'll stream next, but the thing I'm working on now is the player turn. Kind of making our way through different phases. I guess because it's a deck builder, we have phases to each turn, which is not really reinventing the wheel, but trying to make my way through so that Jer isn't blocked when she's doing the UI. I think she's starting to do some stuff in here now, I guess in both of these. So trying to get as much done here as I can so she can hook up the UI. Keep going. Although, I mean, this is where kind of all the heavy lifting needs to happen for the game, basically. All the complicated back and forth is in there. But I imagine next time I stream, I will still be working on that. Just wanted to take a quick detour, get some of the random stuff fixed, get that bug fixed. Let's see. That's gonna take forever. I wonder, where was that? There was one more thing to look at here. Not the int distribution. This one. Closed? All right. to generate canonical. Do we need to change which function we're calling? No. No longer produces 1, consequently makes not produce the upper bound. GCC still fails, which is kind of... that's a pain. I don't really want to go change that behavior, but I don't know how to get... I don't know how else to generate something in that range so that we don't change the behavior of the engine. Where am I here? Okay, that's generate canonical. Stream about random update. I'm going to have to think about how much I think we care about that. I think we care about that. Can I close it? So what that would affect is MSVC, this is totally behaved. Distribution returns a float between 0 and 1 in the closed interval. On GCC, we can actually, this can return the top of the range, which isn't, oh, wait a second. Well, can return the top of the range? Oh, this sucks. I think I just have to change the behavior of those. Okay. I have 3 minutes left today. How do I switch this over? Oh my god, how do I make it a draft? How do I do that? I won't have time to switch that over, but I think I need to change that. Otherwise, we have some like 1 in a million, I don't know, 1 in 100,000 chance of crashing on GCC because of an out of range thing, or random numbers are bad. How in God's name do I change this to a draft now? Convert to draft. There we go. What? Draft. Okay. All right. Thanks for stopping by and hanging out. We'll see y'all next time.